Today on Locked On Sox, we're going to be talking about the White Sox bullpen. We'll be talking about if they have the best bullpen in the AL Central. Do they have the best closer in the AL Central? And it is Friday fun after all, so we will be doing a Sporcle quiz that is bullpen themed.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. We're free and available on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find us there at Locked On Sox or by searching Locked On White Sox. I'm Sean Anderson. I'm the host of Locked On Sox. And today, this Friday, I am starting a new job. I'm in my new office. You might be able to see I've upgraded from my closet and from my car. A very exciting announcement for me today. Go to my Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can find the announcement there. And if you are a Chicago sports fan, it is worth your time. I will say the new company is not about taking away any content from you. It's about giving you additive content. It's about welcoming you into the new community. So this is a very welcoming place that I'm going to. I'm very excited to announce it to you and tell you about it. But I'll save that for next week. But it's going to be very, very big. And a familiar name that you know from Locked On Sox will be there too. I will be there, obviously. Another name will be there as well. You'll find out at 8 p.m. So if you're listening at midnight, you get a little bit of a sneak peek. But if you're on Twitter, I think you could probably connect some dots. Today is Friday, March 3rd. It is Friday, so TGIF to everybody out there. Shout out to Dan from the 219, and shout out to my mother. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the White Sox bullpen, and we will be also doing a Sporcle quiz. And we're going to keep that bullpen/saved theme because we are talking about the White Sox bullpen. Something that we're doing all throughout this week and next week is talking about the division rankings for our team. So I already did on Monday the White Sox starting rotation, how it ranks up in the AL Central. Today we're doing bullpens. We'll talk about the White Sox bullpen and how it ranks up in the AL Central. Also talk to you about Liam Hendriks. I thought he could make a big splash in 2022. Now that there's less than 162 games, I don't know about this. And then obviously in the middle there, we will have our Sporcle quiz. On Monday, this upcoming Monday, there's a Monday mailbag. 312-566-8727 is the number you can call in at, or you can write in at lockedonsox@gmail.com. So let's talk about the White Sox bullpen in 2021, because before we can even rank them and before we can even talk about how they did in 2021, I'd like to talk about the expectations, because early on in spring training, it felt like that was the best and most locked down part of the team, because Eloy was hurt, right? Engel was hurt. So the lineup was a little bit iffy. We weren't sure about Andrew Vaughn just yet. So that was a little And then with the pitching staff, like Lance Lynn was new. You weren't sure about Cease. Keuchel was fine, weirdly enough, and he became a problem a little bit later on in the season. You weren't worried about Giolito. And Rodon obviously wasn't Rodon. I mean, we didn't know what Rodon was until I think probably the end of April, I think it was. It took him just kind of like, I think it was Giolito, the huge season he had. It wasn't really until I think that Cleveland game where he threw the no-hitter, where he was ultimately, fully there. But I think the first couple starts, even Rodon was like, not 100%. So the bullpen was like the thing for the Sox in 2021, even to the point where Aaron Bummer said in spring training, I don't expect us to lose a game if we're leading after the fifth inning. I think the talent in our bullpen is that good to where we should be able to hold leads for our starters regardless of the score. And he said after the fifth inning, I think we should be 90-0. They didn't go 90-0 after having a lead in the fifth inning. They weren't perfect, which I guess that was the expectation. The expectation was perfection. The expectation was the best bullpen in the American League. And this was a bullpen at the trade deadline that they thought they needed to add to. They got rid of Cody Hoyer, and they brought in Craig Kimbrell. And I think most people probably think of that as a mistake or a move that the Sox regret. And it is funny to look back at that trade deadline and see that that was the most important position. And also, it's funny to see that second base was the most important position, because going into the season in 2021, you thought those two were some of the most or more locked down positions, just because Madrigal, top draft pick for the Sox. You think that with his play style, his grit, his defense, his base running ability, that he would have second base locked down for a while. I mean, he was supposed to be, Dustin Pedroia in a way, contact hitter, good defense, all around solid baseball player. But the more and more we saw him, we really didn't see that. We did see some power, and Madrigal was good, but I don't really blame the Sox for trying to make those veteran additions, because even looking at that bullpen, the Sox bullpen in 2021, the only true part that was always 100% effective was Liam Hendriks. And there was points too where, he gave up 11 home runs last year. It wasn't like he was absolutely perfect, but the season that he had, extremely effective. But especially in August and July, Michael Kopech's out there, Garrett Crochet's out there, but overall they're pretty much unproven. And Aaron Bummer at that point, he was fairly unlucky. He was dealing with injuries as well. So the Sox bullpen going into 2021 was one of the stronger parts about this team. But after 2021, there's questions about Craig Kimbrell, and there's questions too, and the Sox addressed those basically immediately. You lose Ryan Tepera after you acquire him too at the trade deadline, and you go out and sign Kendall Graveman. And I think now, with the Sox going into 2022, looking at their bullpen, there are some question marks, but once you look at the stats and once you look at the all-around record of this team, this bullpen did their job by and large part. And you got performances I don't think you expected from guys like Jose Ruiz. Garrett Crochet was still effective even though he wasn't throwing 100. We all know how good Michael Kopech was. So overall, I would say, the Sox still in 2021, their bullpen got an A. This team was very, very, very good in 2021. Let's talk about where they rank statistically. In the MLB, their bullpen was second in WAR, 7.6 for the Sox bullpen. The Rays were first in MLB reliever WAR, but let's compare the two teams. You got Kevin Cash, who's Mr. Opener, who even in 2019, I think it was, they didn't even list any of their guys as starters. It's just everyone's a pitcher. No one's a starter in this league, or at least for the Rays. I guess Glasnow is the only thing traditionally you get, but when you look at the volume of the Rays and the Sox, the Rays were about at 700 and something innings, 703 innings. The Sox were at, I think, 585, 548, so even lower, 703 to 548. So you look at the WAR and how close it was. I think it was 7.8 for the Rays compared to 7.6. Not only were the Sox, I think, by WAR, the best in the AL Central, they're also the best in the MLB. I mean, with that volume, that low of volume, it shows you how effective they are. They are as effective as the team that won 100-plus games, bullpen, that pitched 700 innings. This team that pitched 548 out of the bullpen was basically just as effective as the Rays. And we saw, again, what that led them to. The Sox, I think, do need to add to their bullpen, but that's because of what their goal is. If their goal right now was to win the AL Central, their bullpen would get them there easily. But that's not the goal. The goal is the World Series. I think Sox fans know that. They've been to the playoffs in back-to-back seasons already. Now it's let's get over that first-round hump. Let's get to the World Series. Let's get this rebuild started because, it's probably tough for some Sox fans knowing the Cubs fans that in your life. Their rebuild was pretty quick. And I don't think they expected that, and I'm not expecting that from the Sox too. But it is getting to that point where the Sox need to add to this team because they are World Series contenders at this point. Have you tried the Puffs yet? I have to ask because I'm in the new office. Because if you haven't too, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat. And the best part too, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. So if you're not sold on them being a treat, you have chocolate, 100% real chocolate on the outside. And you're going to hear these flavors too, like yummy cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. Again, it doesn't sound like a protein bar. It sounds like a treat, right? Fluffy, marshmallowy, Built Bar's Puffs. They're low in calorie and high in protein. I think you should replace your candy bars with these because, again, the flavors are phenomenal. They're very, very complex as well. That's something that Built Bar does focus on. They focus on making it healthy, but they also focus on the taste. And I don't know how, but it seems like they pull off every single flavor. Go to Built.com. You can check out all of their flavors. And when you do, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. White Sox, your first listen each and every day. Host of MLB Prospects, Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia. Go check them out. Locked On MLB Prospects is free and available wherever you download your podcast. It is Friday Fun, which means it is time for a Sporcle quiz. And today, from Caramba, we are playing Can You Name the Pitcher Who Has the Most 30 Save Seasons for each MLB franchise? As you can see here, we have 30 possible answers. We're only guessing one for each MLB franchise, and there is only 30 of them. And we have 10 minutes on the timer. No timer today, no sound effect today. Come on, I'm going to get this done before 10 minutes is even over. Come on, stop it. Really, saves only came around since like 1980. So we're going to give this a shot. I think I could do most of these. There's nothing too long or too old. So let's give this a shot. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. We're going to start off with the Angels. 2004, 8 seasons of 30 plus saves. I think the number here, the seasons 2004 is the last time they did it. So I'm going to go with Troy Percival. Yes. Astros. Probably it's going to be Brad Lidge. I was wrong about that. It's not Brad Lidge with the Astros. They had 5 seasons in 2003. Brad Lidge did pop up, though, for the Phillies. 2 seasons for the Phillies with 30-plus saves. Papelbon, Lidge, Battaglio. I've never heard of Ricky Battaglio. Jose Mesa, and Mitch Williams, though. The Phillies had 5 players, and some of these players, teams have more than 5. They have the Nationals have 6, the Orioles have 2, Pirates have 3, Rays have 4, Reds have 3, Royals have 2. I'll try to go in order here. But I don't know the Astros. Chad Qualls? I know they had a bomb off of him. Cordero. No, I mean, that pops up for the Nationals in red. Francisco Cordero, Roldis Chapman, and Danny Graves for the Reds. Soriano, Chad Cordero, Yugith Urbina, Mel Rojas, John Wetland, and Jeff Reardon for the Nationals. I have no idea about the Astros here. Athletics, 6 in 1983. Well, that's a guy that we'll talk about a little bit later. That's the Hall of Famer, who I don't know how to spell. Eckersley. There we go. Dennis Eckersley. Blue Jays, 4 seasons in 1994. Oh, that's not Mitch Williams. Who's this? Oh, no. Who's the closer? I don't know the Blue Jays closer when they won the World Series. No. He was never on the mound, wasn't he? Oh, all right. Braves, 2014. That's got to be Kimbrel. Craig Kimbrel, obviously, huge saver. I'm currently on the White Sox. I don't even think of him as a White Sox. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Kimbrel, 4 seasons of 30-plus saves with the Braves. Again, I think he's a Hall of Famer, and he got some more with the Red Sox. He got a ring there, and you never know what can happen after 2022. I know 2021 was a rough end, but Kimbrel still has, at least fast stuff. If he can keep up his stamina, I think he could be effective. We got 2 minutes left. We have 6 of the 30 so far. The Cardinals, is Ringhausen, another Tony guy, another huge Tony guy, is Ringhausen. There we go. Jason Isringhausen, Moneyball fame, former A, now Cardinal, and similar with Dennis Eckersley. I don't know what Tony La Russa was doing, but I mean, he loved going from the A's to the Cardinals. Dennis Eckersley followed him, and then Jason Isringhausen followed him too, in a way. I mean, he never played for Tony and outside of St. Louis, but he was from Oakland to St. Louis as well. Cubs, 4 seasons, last season being in 1987. I'm going to guess that's the Hall of Famer Lee Smith. It is. Diamondbacks, 2 seasons in 2012. J.J. Putz, White Sox legend. Is it him? Yeah, J.J. Putz, baby. Dodgers, 7 in 2021. That's got to be Kenley Jansen. He is. Giants, 5 seasons, last one being in 2002. I know this. Is it Rob Nen? It is Rob Nen, and Rob Nen pops up for the Marlins as well. He had 2 30-plus seasons, save seasons in Miami, as long with San Francisco. The other names popping up for Miami: A.J. Ramos, former White Sox legend Steve Cishek, and Juan Carlos Oviedo, or also in parentheses, Leo Nunez. I don't know that guy. We got 6 minutes and 40 seconds left. We got 12 of the 30. We're trying to get to half before half of this is over. We got about a minute 30. The Guardians, 3 seasons in 2017. That has to be Cody Allen, I think. Yes, and Doug Jones pops up, which is the most generic name I've ever heard. Mariners, 3 seasons of 30 saves. Last one being in 2002. Don't know that one. Got to be honest with you. I have no idea who the Mariners closer was back then. Mets saves. The only one I know this. So the Mets had 5 30-plus save seasons, last one being in 1998. I think that's John Franco, and I only know that because of MLB The Show. Orioles had 2 guys that had 3-plus 30 save seasons, last one being in 2016. I don't know the other one. I thought one of them might be Lee Smith, but I know the other one is Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson had 50 in a year, and he did not pop up. Why? Why didn't he not pop up? That's weird. Jim Johnson, I thought he was. Probably then Zach Britton. Greg Olson and Zach Britton were the name for the Orioles. We got 15 out of 30 with over half the quiz still left. We still haven't popped up on the White Sox yet. Padres, that one's going to be easy. Hoffman, Trevor Hoffman, probably another Hall of Fame closer. He won't make it in, but I mean, Trevor Hoffman was like dangerous. I mean, Trevor Hoffman was one of the coolest guys when I was growing up. So I think Hoffman's a Hall of Famer. If you're cool, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Pirates, they have 3 guys who had 3 30-plus save seasons, the last one being in 2015. So that has to be Mark Melancon, I believe. And it is. Mark Melancon was the guy in 2015. Joel Hanrahan pops up, and also Kent Tekulve. I know that name because it's an ugly name. I don't think he's a former White Sox. I think he's just got an ugly name. So I think that's why I know Kent Tekulve. Rangers, 4 30-save seasons, the last one being in 2000. I have no idea. The only name I think that pops up for me, Rangers closer-wise, is Nefi Perez, or who was the guy in 2011. That's the only name that's popping up for me. Rays have 4 guys, 2 30-save seasons. The last one was 2013. I don't think it's former White Sox Alex Colomé. It is. Alex Colomé, Fernando Rodney, Danny Baez, and Roberto Hernandez are the 4 that had 30-save seasons for the Tampa Bay Rays. The Red Sox, they had 6 30-save seasons, the last one being in 2011, so that has to be Papelbon. Papelbon had a crazy year. He had a 5-WAR year one year. Papelbon was like lights out. Insane. There's a case for him, too, to make it into the Hall of Fame. I know people don't love closers and relievers in the Hall of Fame, but their position, I don't understand why they should be treated any different than designated hitter, but whatever. Rockies, 3 30-save seasons, last one being in 2008. I have no idea who was the... Houston Street. Was it Houston Street? It's not Houston Street. That's brutal. Is it, who's the guy who was there for a long time? LaTroy Hawkins? Is it LaTroy Hawkins? Is it LaTroy Hawkins? No, it's not LaTroy Hawkins. All right. He played on like 13 different teams, so he probably wasn't playing enough on the same team to rack up those saves. Royals, they had 2 guys who had 5 plus 30 save seasons, the last one being in 1998. I don't know that guy, but I know Dan Quisenberry. And I think Quisenberry is one of those guys. No? Dan Quisenberry? Quisenberry. What? Dan Quisenberry? I got to Google this. Dan Quisenberry. See, I got him pulled up. I got his baseball reference here. Dan Quisenberry. And just make sure I'm spelling it right, because maybe I'm not. I wasn't spelling it right. Jeff Montgomery and Dan Quisenberry are the guys for the Royals. The Tigers are up next. 5 30-save seasons in 2007. He's the only guy, so it's got to be Joel Zumaya. No. Who was the Tigers closer in 2007? And it has to be before. I have no idea. Twins, that's got to be Joe Nathan. I was going to say Joe Namath. Joe Namath, the quarterback. White Sox, 4 30-save seasons, the last one being in 1991. Is it Thigpen? I don't think Thigpen had... Oh, it was Thigpen. I thought Thigpen had 57 and then never had like over 30 again, or had like one other season. Bobby Thigpen is your guy for the White Sox. 4 30-plus save seasons in a White Sox uniform. Liam Hendriks has 1 so far. I don't know how many Jinx had. He probably had at least 2. I know 2007 he probably got up to 40. Last one, Yankees. That's probably the easiest one. That's Mariano Rivera, the Hall of Famer on this list. We got 2 minutes left, and Eckersley's a Hall of Famer as well. We got 2 minutes left, and we were missing 7 names. Astros, Blue Jays, Brewers, Mariners, Tigers, Rockies, and Rangers. I think I'm just going to give up. I think I'm going to give up early, and, I apologize. We're going to take the L. 23 out of 30. The average score is 50%. I missed Billy Wagner as a left-hander. You kidding me? That's brutal. Josh Hader. How did I miss that 2021 was right here? If you're watching on YouTube, you can just see Brewers right here, 2021. I think I just must have skipped over them. And I'm also surprised Raleigh Fingers is not on that list. But Hader, K-Rod was on that list. John Axford and Dan Plesac. I thought I guessed K-Rod for the Angels. But K-Rod wasn't the Angels. It was Troy Percival. So that makes sense right there. The Mariners closer in 2002 that had 3 seasons of 30-plus saves was Kazuhiro Sasaki, or Sasaki. So sorry for butchering your name there. I don't remember that guy. So shout out to him. John Wetland, a name that was already popping up for, I think it was the Phillies. Yeah, you can see right here. He also pops up for the Rangers. He had 4 30-plus saves seasons with the Rangers, last one being in 2000. Brian Fuentes is the name for the Rockies in 2008. I thought Houston Street was also a Rocky and an Angel, so that sucked. And then Todd Jones was the saver for the Tigers, the closer for the Tigers in 2007. He had 5 30-plus save seasons in Detroit. So that was 30 save seasons by every MLB franchise, and I did all right. I didn't do great. They say someone's firing on all cylinders here on Sporcle. You guys are just being nice. It's time to talk about the new official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network and of Locked On White Sox. It's BetOnline. Football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoop. BetOnline has you covered from all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land. BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. As a baseball podcast host, as a baseball podcast content creator, the one thing I want to bet on is baseball. And they have a prop right now on BetOnline.net when the 2022 MLB season will start. They have April being the one with the highest odds at plus 550, and that's the one I would take. Owners, if they cancel more than 25 games, that's when they have to start paying back cable companies. I think they want to get a deal done. I don't think they want to lose and miss too many games. I would place my money on April over at BetOnline.net. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline.net. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, let's continue where the Sox rank in the AL Central. I want to go back to some of the stats that I have, and these are going to just be quick hitters because I don't think they mean too much. They were first in the AL and second in the MLB in K per nines. Big strikeout team, huge velocity coming from all these arms. Hendriks, Ruiz, Kopech, Crochet, Kimbrel. I mean, all those guys are plus 100. Bummer throws heat as well. So the one thing the Sox have is overpowering fast arms, high velocity arms, and a lot of strikeouts coming from them. 11th in the MLB. But again, we talked about the innings pitched. The Sox pitched the second lowest innings pitched of any bullpen. And you think with the great record that they have, you'd think that they be used more, but compared to the Rays and how these modern bullpens are being used, and especially with the manager that they have being so old school, Tony La Russa, second least amount of bullpen usage. He rode the starters a ton, a lot of starters for the Sox went into the 7th inning. So, kind of showing you the usage of the pen there for the Sox. You think that, especially how they were talked about before this season, that the Sox bullpen would have been used more, but, not the way that Tony manages his team. And that was interesting to see for sure. But, that's why they're only 11th in Ks, but you put that per 9 and then they jump up to second in the MLB. Losses and blown saves, they were 15th and 16th respectively in the MLB. I just think that's notable because, again, they weren't perfect. They weren't awful. I mean, they weren't like bottom of the league in blown saves. They weren't bottom of the league in losses, but they were pretty middle of the road. They did give up some leads. And again, they weren't perfect. So it kind of shows you the cracks in this team. And then ERA was probably ballooning. And I know most people will look at it and be like, 397 for your bullpen, which is not good. And it isn't. But with the amountings of innings pitched, I mean, that's going to be affected. You have less innings, and if you're giving up 11 home runs like Liam Hendriks did, and a lot of high velocity guys, if they're able to make contact and get good wood on it, it might go out. So ERA was a little bit inflated, but if you look at fielding independent pitching, I don't think it's too concerning of a number. They were 4th in the majors in that stat, and it's basically like ERA. FIP is fielding independent pitching, and it takes pitchers' strikeouts, walks, and home runs allowed and translates them into a number-scaled ERA. And the Sox were 4th. So that kind of shows you that their ERA of being 397 should be a little bit lower than what it was. And again, ERAs for bullpens are just inflated just by the amount of times that they're used throughout the season. So, 500 plus innings, and especially compared to the Rays, who were used 700 times, their ERA is going to be a little bit, not nicer, but a little bit nicer of a number just because of the amount of innings that they're pitching, right? You go out and have one inning where you give up 2 runs and then your ERA is going to balloon. Some of these guys, especially like Yermin Mercedes, who went out on the mound, like his ERA is being counted in there, even though he was decent at pitching. Danny Mendick's ERA is being counted in there, right? So some of the innings that the Sox even had, those 548, weren't even used by real relievers. So I just find that interesting there. But let's talk about the actual bullpen, because they are the only team in the AL Central with a full realized bullpen. The Sox have the best bullpen in the AL Central. I told you that. I think they have the best bullpen probably in the AL. You could argue the Rays just because of the amount of usage they get from their team, but I think if you're talking about shut down in postseason. I think the Sox truly do have that. Graveman, Bummer, and Hendriks is probably the best three in any MLB team right now. Truly shut down. And what's Crochet? I mean, Crochet's been great throughout his career, so we'll see where that ends up. But right now, long reliefs looking like Reynaldo Lopez. Middle relief, you have Garrett Crochet, you have Jose Ruiz and Craig Kimbrell there. Setup arms, you have Aaron Bummer, Kendall Graveman, and Liam Hendriks, leaving one spot open in middle relief. I'd like it to be a free agent. I'd like it to be Colin McHugh. But other options that are currently on the roster, Ryan Burr was decent last year. They signed Kyle Crick, who was with Pittsburgh, to a minor league deal. He could be worked in. Matt Foster has been on the team in 2020 and 2021. Those are the bullpen arms that I could see that are on the 40-man roster being used. But I still think that if they go out and get a guy like Colin McHugh, he can give you length. Coming from the Rays bullpen, he can give you length at the start of a game. He can give you length if you need a spot start. And he's also extremely effective out of the bullpen, an under 2 ERA for the Rays last year. So I would love him in the Sox bullpen. Now, let's talk about the big name. Let's talk about Liam Hendriks, because if we're comparing the bullpens, the Sox bullpens, to the AL Central, it starts and ends with Liam Hendriks. An almost 3 WAR season from Liam Hendriks. He was, the paid guy in 2021 for the White Sox, the big signing for this team. And I think he paid off 38 saves for the Aussie. And it was really fun to watch him as a Sox. And I do think that if they played 162, I think that he could have had a shot at breaking Francisco Rodriguez's K-Rod's save record in 2009. I went through the numbers in 2008. 2008, Francisco Rodriguez saved 38% of the Angels games, ending with 62 saves. Hendriks' high was 38 in his career. I think it was actually 40 in 2019 with the A's. So he's been able to get up to 40 before, but like we saw, in 93 or whatever, Bobby Pickman with 57. I mean, that set the record there. So if he wants to be in record-setting territory, he has to get over 55 saves. Tony, as a manager, loves to use his bullpen very, very conservatively and very, very traditionally. And with that, he's gotten some big save numbers from guys before. Eckersley had 45 in 88, 51 in 92. Both of those led the league those years. Jason Isringhausen, we mentioned him in the quiz, 47 in 04, 39 in 05, 33 in 06, 07 he had 32. Ryan Franklin got 38 saves in 2009. That's the same amount that Liam Hendriks just got. And then also, Dennis Eckersley also had 36 when he jumped from Oakland to Cleveland with Tony. So there are years where Tony's closers have been able to rack up a big amount of saves. And looking at the White Sox, especially, I think they're going to be able to at least go above 500 against every single team in the AL Central. If those games are close enough, Tony's probably going to use Liam Hendriks. And 19 games times 4, it's about 50-something games. So can Liam Hendriks rack up 25 to 30 saves just against the AL Central alone? I think it's possible, or at least I think it was possible if they're playing 162. I do think he's the best closer in the AL Central. I don't really think it's close. The only guys that are in his competition would be Emmanuel Clase. He had a 2.2 WAR for the Cleveland team, but the Sox were the best AL Central team against him. The Sox did have the best OPS plus against Emmanuel Clase. Better than the Royals, better than the Twins, better than the Tigers. So at least they're hitting one of the elite arms the best. Michael Fulmer's an interesting arm for Detroit. He was a longtime starter, rookie of the year at one point as well, but he was moved to a reliever/closer after May